What's chirping, crickets? This is Kim from Kim Takes On. I'm Kim. Hi, nice to see you. And this is Terrence the Wonder Duck, who is my co-producer. Terrence says hi, and he hopes you're having a terrific week. So, what are we going to talk about this week? Well, I do have one specific subject that is a little bit specific, but it can wait. As I mentioned on my last show, this is spooky season. This is, as I like to call it, the most wonderful time of the year. And I wanted to, I feel like we all know each other enough now that I feel comfortable with you, my crickets. And I feel comfortable enough that I can make a confession to you. And Terrence and I have had a good long talk about it, and Terrence agrees that it's time that I make a confession. So, my name is Kim, and I'm a monster hugger. Hi, Kim. I am one of those weirdos that you see at movie theaters or wherever that's usually cheering for the monster. That's just me. It's just a me thing. I'm just the person. Not every time. I mean, there's certain monsters you just can't cheer for because they're not sympathetic. They're not supposed to be. Can they be funny? Oh, sure, they can be funny. I mean, Freddy Krueger has some great lines, but you're not sitting there going, "Yay, Freddy, for killing a bunch of innocent teenagers that never did anything to you." You might do that. I mean, if you do that, though, don't tell me about it. I don't want to sit near you, no offense. Because you're scary. I'm scary too, but I'm scary in a fun way, I think. Terrence, do you think I'm scary in a fun way? He says I am, so. I mean, if you can't trust this face, what face can you trust, right? But like I said, there's certain monsters that I feel bad for. I really do. Certain horror movie characters, you can't really feel bad for them because the actor who's playing them doesn't want you to, and it's very obvious. A character like Dracula. I mean, we've had tons of people play Dracula, and most of them do not play Dracula as a sympathetic, oh, poor me, oh, I'm cursed, blah, blah, blah kind of character. That's more of the Barnabas Collins kind of vampire. Bela Lugosi, for a good example of a performance of Dracula, where no, you don't feel sympathy for him because he's a bastard. And he knows he's a bastard. He's having a great time being a bastard. Same thing with Christopher Lee's Dracula, which is ramped up a lot more when it comes to the pseudo-sexual parts of the character that they couldn't show or do with Bela back in the 30s because it was the 30s. But no, Dracula for the most part, I mean, every once in a while you'll have somebody's interpretation where it's, like I said, he's kind of, oh, I'm so cursed and stuff like that. And I've always been like, if you feel that way about it, go get a tan. Fall on a steak knife. Do something. But Dracula is not usually a character that you view as sympathetic. Because you just don't. For one thing, usually he's enjoying what he does. You know, he's sneaking into rooms of desirable young women and biting them on the neck. You know, it's, or as close as you can get to showing that sort of stuff because censorship. One character, though, that I've always felt like is a sympathetic character is the Frankenstein monster. Because, and I realize this is going to make him sound like I'm comparing him to a whiny teenager, and I don't really mean to, but the comparison is kind of there. You know, the monster didn't ask to be born. He didn't ask for all this. And all of a sudden, here he is, alive, and his father, or technically father figure, or creator, or however you want to word it, is like, ew, you're ugly, I'm turning my back on you. First of all, I'm like, didn't you happen to notice while you were building him, he's not exactly a GQ model? Dork. I've always felt like the Frankenstein monster is a usually very pitiful character. He didn't ask for any of this. He doesn't ask for people to be afraid of him. He doesn't want people to be afraid of him most of the time. He wants to be loved. He wants to have people show him kindness. I mean, I know his brain's all effed up because, it's the brain of a murderer and stuff like that. But he can't help that either. It's because that doofus Fritz, not Igor, Fritz dropped the normal brain and he grabbed the brain that was from somebody that was a little squirrely. But that's not his fault. The creature's fault, I mean. He just wants to be loved. He just wants people to be kind to him and not try and, set him on fire and stuff. And, I mean, that's so very obvious in Frankenstein. And it's twice as obvious I feel like, in The Bride of Frankenstein, when the monster does have a mate tailor-made for him. I mean, she's literally built to be his mate. And she's all like, man, I hope Elsa Lanchester didn't get paid by the line, because wow, I don't know how is a line, or what you get paid for it. But when the bride rejects him and Karloff's face just falls and he's like, she hate me like others. And then you get that line, we belong dead. And the one tear that comes down the monster's face before the whole lab goes kablooey. I know that's a very scientific term. We're very scientific here on Kim Takes On. I'm sorry. I feel bad. I feel badly for him. I do. I want to give him a big hug, which I know is probably dangerous and dumb. And I know that I'm probably a squishy squishmallow. But that's just how I feel. I also feel bad. It's weird because I really feel bad for the other member of the Universal Horror Trinity. Sometimes it's referred to as the Horror Trinity for Universal. Larry Talbot, no, not CM Punk's dog. Larry Talbot, a.k.a. the Wolfman. Now, this poor son of a bitch, he did not ask for any of this. He was trying to help a lady who was being attacked by a wolf. Wolf, my butt. It's a dog. Well, you just admitted it's a dog. I mean, I'm glad they didn't actually use an actual wolf. But he gets bit by a werewolf, which he thinks is just a wolf at the time, and then finds out that he's now inherited the curse of lycanthropy. Hollywood version. Don't get me started. I mean, no, I'm going to do it. I don't care. I'm sorry, in the original lore, if a werewolf bit you, the next thing that happened? The werewolf kept biting you until it ate you. Most people who turned into werewolves in the lore before the movies came out, they wanted to turn into werewolves. It was usually something done by magic, or a pact with the devil, or something else that would end poorly, like most pacts with the devil probably do. But anyway, but because Larry Talbot is dealing with a disease, basically that's what it is. It's a disease. He didn't ask for it. He caught it and cannot control it. And at the end of the movie gets bludgeoned to death by his own dad. I mean, crying out loud. How can you not feel bad for this poor guy? And the fact that they just kept bringing him back in movies because I'm like, okay, so now he's a werewolf and he's immortal. Y'all are just making this stuff up as you go, aren't you? Sometimes you feel bad. Now, I feel bad for one character that I know a lot of people are going to go, are you kidding me? But I don't care. I would give the creature from the Black Lagoon the biggest, wettest, smishiest hug I could, because it's just not fair. They did him dirty in all three of those movies, which got progressively suckier as they went along. Creature from the Black Lagoon, great movie. Creature, Revenge of the Creature. Leaning more toward and The Creature Walks Among Us is crap. It's crap. The ending is tragic and sad, but it's still crap. I feel awful for the creature from the Black Lagoon, who I call Gil, because everybody calls him the Gil Man, and I'm like, well, I feel like I know him well enough to call him Gil. So there. Yes, these are actual thoughts that I have. Pray for me. I'm sorry. My whole thing with Gil is, let's just picture this for a second. You're in your house or your apartment or your condo or wherever you live. You know, you've just heated up some Hot Pockets. You're going to sit down and watch, Real Housewives from Transylvania or whatever the latest thing of that is. You're not bothering anybody. You're just sitting there doing your thing, having a drink and some supper, and everything's just cool and copacetic. Then all of a sudden, somebody kicks your door in, and a whole bunch of people that you have no idea who they are come in uninvited and try and shoot you or kidnap you from your home and drag you off to put you on display in an aquarium somewhere. Are you going to like that? Shit, no, you're not going to like that. You're going to be pissed. Are you going to defend yourself? Shit, yeah, you're going to defend yourself. So I'm sorry, and I'm not saying that the Gil Man killing the two native guides was not a right thing to do, because it wasn't. But also the fact that this being is by itself in its home in its home environment, and all of a sudden all these people show up being hostile. I'm sorry, Stan, this is like, it's defending itself. I don't feel bad for these people that are showing up and being like, oh, well, this is a creature that's been left untouched by evolution for thousands of years. Let's catch it. How about let's observe it from a distance and don't bother it and see how it lives, instead of dragging it out of its environment, you dicks. Sorry. I get a little touchy sometimes. It's just sorry. And I guess my nature goes a little toward larger creatures too, because I'm sorry. I've seen all the versions of King Kong, the big screen versions. I've seen the one from the 30s. I saw the Dino De Laurentiis version from the 70s, which if I never see it again. And the Peter Jackson version. I cried at every single one of these movies at the end, because Kong asked for none of this. This animal was living peacefully on its island. I'm not saying that the natives were particularly crazy that he was there, but they all seemed to live peaceable enough. And then a bunch of people show up and just decide, because we want to, we're going to take this animal from its environment with no planning on how we're going to humanely care for this creature. And we're going to show it off because, ooh, look at the big monkey. First of all, it's not a monkey. It's an ape, you dicks. And then they bring it to a completely alien environment to this creature, chain it up, and then are shocked when it goes absolutely berserk and wrecks a bunch of stuff. Screw you. It's your fault. Beauty killed the beast? No. You people killed them. Carl Denham is responsible for the deaths of everybody in the original movie and the remake. I forget the name of the character from the Dino De Laurentiis version, but he was played by Charles Grodin, and he was an asshole. So I'm sorry. Kong has always had a special place in my heart, because he really didn't ask for any of this. He was just happy on his island, just chilling and doing his giant gorilla thing. And it's not fair. It's not fair. And it sucks. And I can't talk about monsters that I sympathize with. And of course, And I realize some people are going, I am surprised it took you this long, Kim. Can't talk about monsters I sympathize with and not bring up the big G. I am a Godzilla fan. I have been a Godzilla fan since I was about knee-high to a grasshopper. I started watching Godzilla movies when I was very, very small, and probably shouldn't have been watching Godzilla movies at that point. But my parents knew I was watching Creature Double Feature, and they knew I was being quiet. So that was, it was the 70s. And I never felt afraid of Godzilla. I was always like, he's lost. He doesn't understand. This is a world that is completely different from the one that he remembers. And he doesn't understand why there's all these things around that he keeps crashing into. Why there's all these little screaming beings that are shooting at him. I've never felt like Godzilla was the bad guy. I know in certain films he's portrayed as the bad guy because every film needs a villain. And that includes documentaries, and don't fool yourself that they don't. But I just never could find it in myself to hate Godzilla. Even, I'm sorry, I know this is going to piss some people off, even Shin Godzilla, which I gotta be honest, I sat there through most of this movie going, I don't know what's going on, but what the hell did you people do to my Godzilla? Sorry. I've just always found him to be an interesting character. I've always found him to be a tragic character. And none of that is more prevalent than in the film that debuted him to the world, Gojira, or Godzilla, King of the Monsters, if you prefer, which I actually saw first. I did see King of the Monsters first. I didn't see Gojira until much, much later in my life. The scene at the end when he is dying and has been exposed to the oxygen destroyer and dying, and he rises up out of the water one last time and gives this painful scream and then sinks under the water again. Now, I know that up to this point, the characters cause a lot of damage and all this stuff like that. I understand that, and I know that. And I know that me being sorry for this character and sitting there bawling my eyes out in the middle of a movie theater probably had a lot of people looking at me going, what the hell is wrong with her? But all I saw was an animal in pain. An animal that doesn't understand why it's back in a world that doesn't accept him anymore. And that hurts my heart. I'm sorry. Like I said, I'm a squishmallow. A big, squishy squishmallow. I've always been a squishmallow. I've always been a monster hugger. I can't help it. Are there any monsters that you guys felt like, man, they did them wrong, or they did them dirty, or whatever? Please let me know. PlatinumRoselle@yahoo.com. Before I head off, though, for the evening, give you something to ponder about in my recent discussion. Now we come to the discussion here. A couple of weeks ago, I went on what certain people, or ducks, referred to as a rant about someone going on change.org and in between clutching their pearls managed to write a piece of something about how AEW should be banned because of the violent actions of Hangman Adam Page and Swerve Strickland in their no-holds-barred lights-out match at the end of the last AEW pay-per-view. Because apparently calling something a no-holds-barred lights-out match made somebody think that this was going to be a chess match or something like that, or a dance-off, or a pie baking competition, or something like that, and not two wrestlers who hate each other and trying to end each other. And this person was just clutching their pearls and saying that AEW should be yanked off the air immediately, blah, blah, blah. So I said to myself, self, I wonder if that person is going to put up a petition after this past weekend and the WWE pay-per-view, Bad Blood, which was kicked off with the Hell in a Cell match between CM Punk, who has wonderful taste in dog names, by the way, since his dog's name is Larry Talbot, and Drew McIntyre, who said some mean things about Larry Talbot, so screw him. You can say bad things about other people, but I will not have you insult dogs. So we got this match, which I will be perfectly honest and look right into this camera and say with a straight face, or as straight as I ever get, I was waiting for blood during this match like you wouldn't believe. And I was not disappointed. There was blood in this match. There was quite a bit of blood in this match. There was improper use of hardware tools in this match. There was very improper use of toolboxes in this match. There was improper use of lots of stuff, and there was a lot of red stuff in this match. And no, I ain't talking about marinara. And was it a great match and told a great story and was a really incredible showing between these two athletes? Hell yeah. To the point where Drew McIntyre, because of one shot that went slightly askew, awry, wrong, effed up, however else you want to word it, Drew McIntyre needed to get 16 staples in his head. I didn't know you could put staples in people's heads. The more you know. And all the stuff I said about Drew a minute ago, I'm just teasing. I'm just playing along. I am sorry about the 16 staples in your head, dude. Wow, that sucks. But I decided, and I said to myself, I wonder if this person is going to go on change.org and put up a fiery rant about how WWE should be banned because of all of the stuff that's going to happened at Hell in a Cell. So I checked, and I checked again, and I checked some more, and I didn't see jack effing shit. Now, what does that mean? Trying to think about what that means. It's right on the tip of my tongue what that means. Terrence, what do you think that means? Well, I can't use that word. I've already been told I can't use that word. Terrence and I are in agreement that what that means is that whatever WWE does is perfectly fine with certain people. But if AEW does something that they don't like, oh my gosh, they're a horrible organization. They must be banned immediately. Blah, 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 blah. Mother effing blah. Your tribalism is showing. I mean, I'm sorry. Of all the hypocritical, double standard bullshit, for real, it just blows my mind that according to some people, WWE can't do anything right. I'm sorry. Actually, it used to be WWE couldn't do anything right, but you couldn't do anything about it because they're the only game in town. And along comes AEW, and all of a sudden, AEW can't do anything right, and everything WWE does is perfect. I mentioned before that I'm a wrestling fan, and I am a wrestling fan, which means I love all kinds of wrestling. I love scientific matches, I love comedy matches, I love strong style, I love hardcore, I love flippy shit, I love intergender matches, I love a little bit of everything, because a little bit of everything makes everything special and fun and unique. And if you try and tell me, well, if you like this kind of wrestling, you can only like that kind of wrestling, I am going to tell you to take that opinion and turn it sideways and shove it straight up your... No, I'm not going to finish it, Terrence. Y'all get the point. Just my opinion. Just the opinion of a, your everyday average friendly neighborhood psychopath. So that's going to do it for this week here on Kim Takes On. I hope you've enjoyed the show. I hope it made you laugh or think or both. And this is Kim. This is Terrence the Wonder Duck. We're both wishing you a terrific week. Have a great week and keep safe, especially if you're down in the Florida area. Please keep safe with all the crazy weather and keep rocking.